Campbell, this would have to be your 500th interview around about.
Pretty much. I reckon it's 500 with you.
Alright, just going to get straight into it. Who's the worst teammate you ever had, ever?
Matt Garrison.
Yeah?
By far. Terrible. Terrible roommate, terrible teammate. Nah, he was a good teammate, just a terrible roommate. One of those people that would absolutely destroy your room, turn the heat up real high or be freezing cold. So yeah, no, good teammate, just a terrible roommate.
Alright, more serious. First up, congrats on 499 games you got under your belt. Just tell us about the journey from the outskirts of Bendigo, or from wherever Bendigo you're from, to right here, right now. Two nights away from 500.
Look, I mean, my journey is similar to a lot of people's, I guess, in the fact that, you know, I started out just playing basketball for fun, never knowing where it could turn into, and my goals at that stage when you're a young kid aren't to play in the NBL. They're just you play basketball because it's a great game to play, and because you enjoy it. And probably wasn't until the stage where I played, you know, got to play some ABA games when I was 14 in Bendigo, and I started thinking, well, maybe, you know, I'm starting to get fairly good at a junior level, and maybe I'll be able to play some seniors. And yeah, as it was, I ended up playing a couple of years in Ballarat and under Brendan Joyce as a coach, and we won 2 championships in the ABA, and from there got my chance in the NBL here at the Illawarra Hawks, 96. Still remember the first game against Leroy Loggins. That was quite a milestone to play against a legend like that here on the Snakepit floor, and yeah, from there, history. 499 games later, I'm about to walk into my 500.
Now this almost didn't happen a few times. You had the Save the Hawks campaign, and then the illegal, like it wasn't going to even exist one year. So talk about, you know, thinking you'd never get here, just out of your own control.
Yeah, look, I mean, they're the kind of things, back when the Hawks were going to die, it's forced into retirement like that. That's the kind of stuff that you like, you know, that's not the way you want to go out of the game. You want to be able to go out on your own, you know, your own merits, and yeah, that was one of the disappointing things about what was going to happen. From the league point of view, look, I've seen it change. I've seen it go from a winter sport to a summer sport. I've seen it in the big high times when you're playing in front of, you know, 10,500 people down in Melbourne at the Rod Laver Arena, and I've seen it through the low times when you get barely any people to games. And I think we're on a winner right now. I think the game itself is getting better. I think we're actually focusing on the players and not worrying about the corporate side and the commercial side of the game. I think the game is always going to be bigger than the outside influences that we have, and you know, if we focus on making sure that the game itself gets better and the players that we have here in Australia gets better, then the game will keep surviving.
Now the cool thing about you is you've actually already played your last game and had your number retired. So when that comes down to that, we don't actually have to do anything for you.
Yeah, well, that's one thing. I don't have to worry about the emotion of retiring a singlet, because that's already been done. Look, people ask me about memories, and that's one of the best memories I have from any kind of game. That last game that we thought it was going to be at the Wollongong Entertainment Centre, that was huge. Full house, retired jerseys, and that feeling after we won that game to walk around and slap 5 with people and to see what it actually meant to a lot of the people in Illawarra was pretty awesome. And you know, that's something that I'll remember for a lifetime, and I'm hoping that our club now is stable enough to be a club that can hang around for another 30 years, but to be able to be on the court when that feeling of loss that people had was quite amazing, and something that, you know, I rate it right up there with the championship ring as my favourite moment.
Now when you join the 500 club, do you have any idea what happens with the previous members to get initiated? Does Sav give you a call and almost like he doesn't know you, say, this is Glenn Saville, I'm part of the NBL 500 club, just like welcome you in, blah blah blah?
I'm pretty sure there's no protocol. That could be what goes on. Maybe you have to start that. I don't think it's as organised as what you're stating. Yeah, maybe I might get a surprise call from Andrew Gaze or something like that saying well done and congratulations and welcome to the club. But Andrew, if you're watching, this is for you. Call me. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm not taking it too serious. It's obviously a great milestone. I think something that I'll look back on and really cherish. But at the moment, we're one game into the season. This is our second game. It's very important we get the win.
I'm taking the 500 club thing seriously. You mentioned Gaze. He's actually part of a more exclusive club with Brett Maher, the only two guys in the 500 club to play for one team. Now, I seriously think those two guys are going to initiate you to the exclusive, the real 500 club. There's probably something going to happen there with you three.
Oh, hey, I'm happy to see that. I mean, that's one thing that I'm very, very proud of. Like, to be able to say that I played all my games with one team. You know, it's not easy to do. It's a professional sport. There's a lot of decisions along the way that, you know, I could have gone to other clubs, or, you know, our club here could have gone with other people, I'm sure. So to be able to sit back and say that I played all 500 with the one team, and that means, you know, that's pretty special to me. And it's not just because I wanted to do it. It's because of the people as well. Like, the way I've been welcomed with the club and by the community here, it's, you know, that's something that makes you not want to leave. And it's something that I tell the younger guys, that they can establish themselves and play for a number of years with one club, then they have that onus, I guess, on the team, and it makes it easy to get motivated to come out and play. It's not just about playing, you know, you're not playing for a paycheck, you're not just playing to win a game. You're actually out there playing for a region and playing because you know people in the stands that are cheering for you, and I think that makes it easier to get motivated year in, year out, and makes it easy to play. You know, that's probably why I've got so many games, and probably why I'll probably keep going for a little bit.
You're going to be Lord Mayor in like 5 years, clearly.
Clearly I know what to say when I'm asked different questions here and there, but hey, Lord Mayor, maybe, yeah, geez, I am going to need a job. So.
You mentioned your first game against the Bullets. Do you remember maybe in your rookie season or the year after, like your first breakout game where you really strung it together in the game?
Look, I think I was lucky in my first year because, yeah, I think Brendan Joyce was the first year coach in, and I had a chance to establish myself early without any barriers. And I actually started a few games my first year, and you know, I found that very daunting. Like, as a young kid into a professional environment, starting in a few games, and that didn't quite work out that first year. So there were some highs that year, and there was also some lows. Definitely remember towards the end of that season saying to myself, like, next year is a do or die year for me. I wanted that year to be either a good year or the year that I have to decide on whether it was worth, you know, playing for $17,000, $18,000, or if it's worth going out there and starting to get a job and thinking about a career, because, you know, it's a tough world in professional sport, tough world when you're only getting $16,000, $17,000 to try and make ends meet. And was it worth it to keep going, or was it time to get a job and get a career and maybe an apprenticeship? And I think that pre-season was my biggest pre-season I think I've ever done, and that next year I think was the year that I established myself as a consistent player. I think I was second in the league in three-point shooting that year, percentage-wise. I was just more consistent on the floor, and you know, that's when I started recognising and believing, not only believing but knowing that I should be in the league, and that's when from there I think my career started to establish.
And you have one standout memory of you playing in the Snakepit?
Yeah, look, back in those days, I think one of the standout always was playing against the Sydney Kings. I think my third year when I became, I'm not sure if I was a starter or I played like several minutes, and we played against the Sydney Kings. Like, I think we were actually last that year by about 5 or 6 games, and you know, I still remember beating the Sydney Kings every time they turned up into this gym, and the crowd was going nuts. Like, you'd have 1,900 people and we only fit 1,500 people in the Snakepit. It was just people hanging from the rafters, and we always found a way to get up and beat the Kings. And you know, I think Sav climbed up into the bar like after the game. It's just like silly things like that. I think Terry Johnson had 44 in one of the games and hit a left hook, but you know, it wasn't more the memories of what I did in a game, more the memories of the people. And you know, that last game here at the Snakepit where we beat Townsville, and you know, had the dinner at the back court, and you know, I think I had 28 in that game. So they're the kind of memories that you have. And, yeah, there's been a lot of good games along the way. Like, you know, I think I've had a lot of good games. My career high up in Townsville, I think that was a huge I think I had 9 threes in that game, and to be able to toe semi. That same year, I think in the semi-final, I think I had 7 threes in the last quarter or something stupid, like had 24 in a quarter or something, only to have 28. I only had 4 going in. You know, to beat them in the semi-final or something, you know, there were some big games that way, but yeah, most of my memories are about the actual club, not the individual, you know, not the individual moments, I think.
Before you became captain, there was a string of players that were become captain and left.
The curse.
It was Humphrey, Zorna, Ritter, Eric Cooks, then 2 guys called Sav and Campbell coming in and held me down for a long time.
Yeah.
Was there any concern coming into the captaincy?
Oh, absolutely. You talk about the curse. That was one of the first things that got mentioned. It's like, you guys really want to be co-captains? One of you or both of you are going to end up going. And yeah, we spoke about that a lot. And there was a couple of times where I thought that might come true, especially a few years there where it was a bit edgy. I think after we lost that grand final to the Kings, which I can't really remember the games that well, but you know, there were some heated arguments in about faults and pointing fingers, and that was a big time where I thought maybe that was, you know, the time that I need to move on from a club, and yeah, they're the kind of things that you think about when you look at all those captains that have lasted. But you know, to be able to say that I've been a captain for a number of years with that club, with the only foundation club, it's another thing that I'm sure I'll cherish when I get to the end of, when I do hang the boots up.
Alright, a couple of big ones now. Just toughest opponents. You've played against some of the greats for a long time. Who are the guys that stand out?
Look, stand out, obviously, you're talking Andrew Gaze, and probably Brett Maher's the toughest Australian opponent that I've ever played against. Like, you know, with Gaze, you knew that he was going to score. Like, the offense was run for him every pass, and he was going to find a way. With Brett Maher, he just found a way to always score against you, and you feel like you're having a great game against him, and he'd give you like 3 or 4 buckets right near the end of the game to give them a 5-point buffer. And I never felt like I was in control of him. Like, you know, even with Gaze getting 20 something on you, it felt like you had him under control a little bit because he didn't give you 40 type of thing. But with Brett, you never felt like you had him under control, and he was, you know, extraordinary for the game, I think. Import-wise, I always think Steve Woodbury was the toughest opponent that I ever had to match up on. He was one of them guys who had a good steady handle, had a good change of pace, could beat you off the dribble, but could also back you down and put you in the block, and was real tough in just his little change-up runners and jumpers, and ahead of his time before that really came in. And so he was probably the toughest, I think, as an opponent that I had as an American.
That's some amazing import teammates for good and bad reasons. Could you give me an all-import team of teammates? I'm
glad you said all-import team, not people I wouldn't have, because that could be embarrassing. Look, I think I'll run through the spots. I'd have to say Darnell Mee is the point guard. He's probably the best point guard I had. His ability to find you as a player was awesome, but not only offensively, defensively, because they could switch, and you know, at any stage you could just switch myself and Sav and him on the edgy player, and you felt comfortable. Well, actually, you could switch Darnell on to pretty much anybody and still feel comfortable. So he'd be the point guard. 2 guard Cortez Grove was, you know, he was a great 2 guard who had to handle the 1 for us, but you know, hell of a scorer. I think it was awesome to have through the years. Never really had a 3-man because Sav locked that spot down pretty much the whole time. But I mean, I think Clayton Riddle was one of the imports that, you know, he was the best flat-out low post or just flat-out scorer that I've ever had to play with as well. And you know, he was a workhorse too. People underestimated what he used to give us on the boards as well. And, you know, if he had to put that effort into his defensive game, could have been an all-defensive player, I'm sure too. But didn't play much D. And pretty much, of course, Melvin Thomas, I reckon. Like, Mel, you know, he'd give you 20 and 10 back in the days when you're 48-minute game, no matter what. He was awesome at being able to do that. And, you know, he's something that, yeah, as a player, typified. He's been able to play for so long. He'd be able to do that work in the pre-season, get himself right, because he used to blow out in the pre-season, but he'd get himself right for a year, and the long arms, and give you, you know, always a competitor, and I like that about him.
When was the last time you dunked?
Game dunked?
Yes, a real dunk.
I'm still a warm-up dunker. I could be in the all-time NBL warm-up dunking team. Jeez, I thought about this the other day. I can't remember my last game dunk.
You should probably get one this week then, right? Refresh everyone's memory.
Man, it's hard to get a breakaway these days. I mean, the last imports we had Gary Irvin. There's no
anything about a breakaway.
That's the only chance I get these days. Actually, I think probably the last time I got a dunk was against Adelaide, and I think I came off an on-ball and the seas parted, so it was a half-court dunk, so I counted as
I saw you put it on the floor last week and put up a runner.
You like that left?
I don't know if it was a runner, but it was a jump shot at the same time. It was weird.
And it banked, so wasn't much finesse going on there, but hey, I'll take it. It went in, I went to the end one.
So yeah, your best dunk, your best dunk.
Yeah, probably the ACL dunk. I think that's the only dunk people have footage of, but you know, he came in and tunneled me and I slammed it on his head, but the landing was something that needed to be worked on. I did slip off the rim and land pretty heavily on the shoulder face type of thing. I did make the end one after that. There was also another dunk I remember playing against the Perth Wildcats. I think ended up, we were on the comeback trail down 2, and I was on a breakaway and it was Vlahoff back and I think Paul Rogers was coming back as well, and I ended up getting the ball and went up, and the ball actually slipped a little out of my hand, and I ended up catching it again and throwing it down. And I remember James Harvey coming up to me after the game saying that's one of the best dunks he's ever seen. So it was one of them ones that just accidentally slipped out, but I still managed to put it in. And yeah, I don't think you'll have footage of that stuff, but it's all up here. That's what counts.
Not your dunk, but best reaction to a dunk you've had. You mentioned the Savage Mark Davis dunk. You want to talk about that?
I think there's two good reactions. I think the Sav on Mark Davis was pretty good. I think I was trying to pick a fight that I was definitely not going to win with Mark Davis, and also I think the dunk where he put it on Simon Dwight's head. I think both of those ones, if you actually look in the background, you see me sneaking in there yelling out some cheeky abuse, but. Yeah, I was always, I never died wondering on a court. I was always one to get fired up if someone did something pretty extraordinary, and I think both those dunks were in games where we were close and we needed a bit of inspiration. Sav throwing it down on someone's head's pretty inspirational, and I think there's a few of those. Everyone remembers the dunks when I get in people's face, but I'm pretty sure there's a few blocks where I've said the same thing when Sav used to come through and swoop through and smash someone into the stands. I used to give some advice at that stage too.
So what's the best trash you've ever dealt someone?
Ooh, quite known for my trash talking. More of the in your face kind of like just be there and annoy the absolute hell out of you kind of person. I don't think I've ever berated anybody like Sav. Yeah, like Sav will do to some people, or you know, or someone like a Shane Heal would try and do to a young guy. I've never tried to put people off. You know, I never really felt that was my idea of playing the game. I'd go out there, play hard and bump them and stuff like that, but I'd never, you know, use words to try and get in their head. I mean, I joke around with someone like Aaron Trahair, like someone I grew up with and someone I feel comfortable with joking about, but you know, I don't think I've ever trashed anyone officially on the court.
About trash you've copped?
Oh, plenty. Geez, where to start?
What's the highest quality trash?
You know, the highest quality trash I've ever copped is from a fan.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember playing here in the Snakepit in my first year, and I remember being in a timeout, and I remember sitting there, and you know how the coaches have their little huddles and stuff, and we're sitting in a little timeout, and a lady was sitting right behind the Snakepit bench, yells out to me, and as soon as Brendan turned to come back in, "Brendan, get Campbell off, he stinks!" And I'm like, well, I'm right here. I can see you. I'm right here. So yeah, that was my first year. I'm pretty sure that was one of the things I had to deal with my first year in the pit. People weren't happy with me that year. I'm pretty sure. I actually had a lady come up to me and apologise for saying things, and I wasn't quite sure if it was the same lady, but you know, I'm sure they warmed to me over the 16 years that I've been here. Hello, my name is Matt Campbell, and on Sunday is my 500th game, and I will throw it on someone's head. A dunk, that is. Believe it.